Unmute mic. Hey everyone, it's Danielle Marie from the One Realty here in Austin, Texas. My name's Danielle Fountain. I'm here to give you your weekly update of what is happening in the Austin real estate market. So if you're following me on X, which is at @the_one_realty, you probably saw me post yesterday about the increasing number of houses that are actively listed with price reductions. Yes. We are only in April and we are seeing our price reductions in the city of Austin continue to accelerate. Now, I say normally 1 or 2 weeks, it's kind of like, hey, something might have happened, but we are on our 4th straight week in Austin of active listings, of the number of active listings having a price reduction is going up. If you know me, I take a data-driven, all-in-one approach to real estate. So I'm just not going to here to sell you a home. I'm here to give you the data behind it. So without further ado, we are going to hop in and we are going to see what happened to the Austin real estate market from last Wednesday to this Wednesday. Keep in mind, we look at Wednesdays because typically all the houses that went under contract over the weekend have gone under contract. All the new listings that are going to come out tomorrow aren't affecting today's number. So feel free to go ahead, like, follow, subscribe so that you see future updates. So first and foremost, we are going to hop into today's active listing. So if you're just joining me, you can go back and find all of my past episodes of this. If you can see, I'm tracking this weekly. So this is not necessarily just numbers that I go and pull off. I am looking for trends so that I can help you, the seller or the buyer in the Austin real estate market, to know what you should do in this market. So first and foremost, our active listings, we went up another 230 this week. We are just shy of 3,200 active listings here in Austin. Now, to put this in perspective, and this is where if you've seen this earlier this week, last year our high was at like 3,640, and that was in June. If we look over a 10-year period, we were above 4,000 listings back. It was like in 2016. So we have gone substantially higher than this, but this is early in April. And normally in April, we are taking a lot of listings out and we're selling them. And that's what's going to roll into the next part. Average price point, nothing really changed. We are at that 1.25 million is where we are, very consistent with last year. We will talk about pricing in Austin because if you're on social media, you'll probably see Austin's prices are dropping by 4.1% is what they're predicting by Zillow. It just came out today. Keep in mind when you're looking at those posts, they're talking about Austin as far as the Metroplex of Austin versus the city of Austin. That being said, our median price point stayed the same at $750, which is higher than last year. And we'll roll into that. The other thing is, when I'm talking to a lot of investors or people trying to figure out, hey, what's happening on the market? One of the things that we also key into, which is a leading indicator, is our days on market. If days on market are going down, our inventory is kind of getting eaten up, as well as the pain point for a seller is lower. If you have a lower days on market, it's kind of lower. Now, as days on market start to stack, that means there's more inventory and the pain point kind of, it starts to hit sellers. So with that being said, our median days on market has increased by another day. Last week is our first week of an increase by a day. This week, we also increased by a day. So when your median increases, that means even though you're having a bunch of new listings come to the market, that should be driving your median down. But because houses are sitting longer and we're not getting rid of the inventory, our median is starting to stack. So we're seeing that. Now, this goes back into that listings with the price reduction. So you can see right there, 1,449, or the equivalent of 45.38% of our listings have had a price reduction. That's a 0.5% higher than last week. That is rolling into there. And so I just want to take a minute and kind of give you a little bit more data behind that, because I think it's really important that we understand when we start talking about price reductions. And some people are thinking, oh my gosh, it's great, it's all the way across the board, we're going to see that. Well, a lot of times price reductions are the houses that are not necessarily moving. So if we talked about where these price reductions are happening and how many of the price reductions are happening. So the average days on market of houses that have had a price reduction, the average days on market is 107. The median days on market of all of this, like 1,400 plus, houses that have had a price reduction. The median days on market is 69. Now, you might have had a house that's been sitting there forever that's had multiple price reductions. The average house with a price reduction is 1.1 million, which I actually expected it to be higher. I expected the houses with price reductions, the average, to be higher. It wasn't. The median house was at 699, so lower than even our median list price. Now, when we look at price reductions, the other thing that I was also looking at to see was, what is the average price reduction? So we have over 1,400 houses with a price reduction. The average price reduction is 8%. And then if we're looking at like how and when do these price reductions happen, because this might set you up too, especially if you're a buyer and you're looking at a market and you want to see, hey, are we going to see one? So the median days until a active listing has a price reduction in Austin currently is 23 days on the market. So about 23 days is when we start seeing that first price reduction. With that being said, you know what? I'll show you this really cool graph. So if you're here, you're gonna get a little bit of extra for. I say that I normally send out directly to my sellers that are buyer or my buyers when we're doing a deep dive. Once again, I take a data-driven all-in-one approach to real estate. So I'm going to do something for you, and you are going to see some extra data that I pull. And let's see, we're going to stop this screen. I'm going to invite you to another screen. So bookmark this. And if you guys have questions too, feel free to throw them in the chat. We can also make this as interactive as you want or as you don't want. So I love this. Lots of stuff going on. 1 second. I think, let's see. That's why I got to pull this off. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to be able to see it. Okay, so if you're joining me now, feel free. We're talking about the Austin real estate market. We are going to be talking about specifically price reductions. We're going over the whole month and what's happening. So number one, if you're just joining us, we're seeing an increase in inventory that is hitting the market. We are seeing an increase in the number of active listings with a price reduction. All of that's kind of going into, so you really need to understand your market when we're making, either you're selling or if you're buying, you need to understand what is happening in your niche market. I'm giving you broad Austin real estate. So when we start looking at specific zip codes for my buyers and sellers, we're going to key in on a little bit more. So, but here's what's happening right here. So these are all the single family homes in Austin that have had a price cut. You can see right here, our average price cut is 8%. You're going to see all of the different asking prices, how many are active, those with price cuts, the percent with a price drop, and the percent of the price drop. So you kind of see it all over. Now, I will say some people are going, oh my gosh, the 200 to 249,000, look, they're having crazy price drops. Okay, this is also to tell you the condition of the house. So you might see this and be like, oh my gosh, there's steals. These houses, some of these houses are probably could be tear downs. Some of these could be complete guts and renovation. Some of them could be on next to commercial. Some of them. So you have to look at house specific. So don't take this and run with this that hey, you're going to find a great house at this point with a price reduction. There's probably other factors that are going to tie into it. So also, and if you're following me now, you just joined, do me a favor and share this space out. So if you're on X, share this out so other people can join into this live stream, and feel free once again to drop questions in below because we can kind of go over it. So you can see all the prices and where everyone's having a price drop, and 38% of these 1.4 millions had a price drop. Now, here's what I always find interesting is after they've had a price drop, how many days on the market until they're under contract? So right now it's at 17. So you're going to see this is days from the price drop to when it was under contract. It's about 17 days, which is interesting because our median price drop right here is at 23 days. So even though you have a price drop, sometimes it takes about 2 weeks or so to have some action on it. And that's also when you do a price drop, depending on how you strategically do it. I would say you want to avoid having a price drop on, let's say, Sunday or on Monday. I would strategically set it up for a Wednesday or a Thursday. That way people over the weekend are coming into it with that price drop. If you drop it on Monday, you might not get as much traction. And so by the time the weekends come, there's new listings that have come on the market on Thursday. So ideally, honestly, probably Thursday evening or Friday. morning is probably one of your best times because it's going to pop up on like your Zillow, your Redfin, all of that as having a price reduction. It's new data, which will help you compete against those new listings that are coming to market. With that being said, you can kind of see, hey, here's where we are. This shows the number of new contracts with a price drop. You're seeing like 420 of those. And then this is just showing you your price drops over time, which we kind of hop into. Typically, you'll see Q1, which is January, February, March. We're going to see the lower price drops. We're going to see it go up in Q2, and then Q3 and Q4 kind of very similar. So we're talking like end of summer and end of winter, because end of summer people are selling, and they have to price drop their house, and they've got to get it sold before maybe the next school year. Or at the end of the day, you're going towards people want to get it sold before the end of the year. And so this is kind of interesting. You're going to kind of see, hey, here's where the average price drops and how they've kind of changed, where they are changing. So you're seeing in 2022, we had massive price drops. Right now we're not having as many price drops. Also, I am in my office with my dogs. We have someone at our house right now, so I can't have my dogs there. So hold on 1 second. Okay, so with that being said, kind of give you a little bit more information. How long has this trend been happening? Josie, sorry. This trend has been happening over the past 4 weeks. So if you kind of follow along, you are going to see, and thank you for asking that question too. I appreciate kind of the little interaction. You are going to see that over the past 4 weeks, we have started to see an increase in the price reductions here in Austin. So we hit our low for about 5 weeks ago at a little over 41%. And this week we're over 45%. At our height in last year, at the beginning of December, we were at 57% of our houses had a price drop. Now, let me put this in perspective. If we go across the entire US, like when we start getting price drops in like the winter and the fall, typically it's around 30 to 40% of houses have had price drops. That's across the entire US, just depending on where you are, where they fall. Austin, we have been falling significantly higher. But that also goes back to perhaps maybe houses are overpriced. I can say I did have one follower send me a house and say the price, and I was like, it's not selling for that in that area, in that part of South Austin. So great question, Josie. Thank you for asking that. And I can hop on. I'm going to share the next bit of information, and we're going to go back and we are going to start talking about pendings. So pendings, listings of what is happening here in Austin. So if you're just joining us, you'll see this you can go back and watch the whole thing, but we just talked about our price drops are increasing here in Austin, Texas. We're seeing about an 8% price drop, typically happens on day 23. Okay. Now, with the new listings, that's also important. So we're having new listings come to market. We did see 464 new homes come to market, an increase almost 10%, a little bit over 10% from last week. And then 25 of them were relisted. That's minimal. And then you'll also see, which was interesting, is we had a lower average price and median price compared to last week. So last week, our new listings were at like almost 1.3 and 8. This week, we dropped down a little bit. We're probably going to see very similar trends over the next coming weeks. Now, pending listings, this is really where we want to see, this is going to be our leading indicators if our market is getting stronger or if our market is also getting weaker. Pending listings. So right now we have finally we have over 1,000 listings that are pending. Let me tell you, this time last year, we were well into 1,000 listings pending, but also our strongest buying part was last year was in around like March timeframe. So it depends on what happens with interest rates. Are we going to see people buyers? Are we going to see them pick up? With that being said, we went up by 51, our net from week over week. Keep in mind, some pendings fall through, some pendings are closing, some houses are getting withdrawn. All of that are going into this. Our new weekly pending, it went up again, only by 3 listings, but from week to week. So I like to look at Wednesday. So this will be from Wednesday to Tuesday, because typically by Tuesday, you figured out what houses have gone pending for that week. So with that being said, we had 223 houses that were new pending over this past week. We'll slightly increase. This is also the interesting part. Our average price point for pendings, we dropped down again. So Austin ranges. We have houses that are $30 million. We have houses that are $250,000, just depending on where you are. So this kind of will shift a lot. I really like to hone in on the median. The median's really going to give me meat and potatoes of what's happening. You can see that median slightly dropped down by a little less than 10%, or 10%, 1%. Sorry. Ooh, that would be huge if it was 10%. So 639, you're going to kind of see that's where we slightly drop down. Now, average days on market, median days on market, both of those went down by 5 days. Okay, I don't ever talk about this, but this column over here is going to show you the week by week changes. So here's last week's information, here's this week's information, and then here's our delta, our week over week delta. So when you're looking over here, this is really going to tell you what's changed week over week. You are going to see right here the number of listings with a price reduction that went under contract. It actually went up by 0.24, which is not surprising considering week over week, we're continuing to see more houses have price reductions. This number is probably going to continue to grow. It's not really, if this doesn't grow and these continue to go down, this is just showing me that there's buyers out there that are waiting. They're going to buy as soon as the listing that they want comes to market. That's when we're going to see that hop on. But right now, we're not kind of seeing any big changes with this. We're growing as far as the number of pendings, but not to where we should have if we want to get like historical averages. So, okay, we are going to hop into our close. So stay with me too, because there's a lot of data. But what we're also going to talk about is we're going to talk about what happened in March, what happened in April, kind of what is up here, what is on the horizon. And then just like Josie did, and she threw a question out there, if you have a question about this data, feel free to hop on, write a comment, I'll see it, or else you can shoot me a DM. And I think actually X is going to go to like something like X chat versus X DM. I just saw a post about that today, so that will be interesting. And if you're following me on YouTube or on Instagram, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on X at @the_1_realty. Instagram, you can look for Danielle Taylor Fountain, but it's the One Realty. You'll find me out there. I'm easy to get a hold of. Website is www.theonerealty.com. Pretty simple that you can find me. So with that being said, closed in the past 30 days. Now, this is where it kind of gets abysmal again. Yes, we went up by 19, but when I show you our historical averages here in Austin, eek, this is not great. Now, the good thing is you see this pending number right here at 1,023. We're probably going to see this inch up. I say we'll probably be by the end of April. I bet we're going to be in the mid 700s, but nothing quite that big yet. So our median sales price also went up to 862. Our average, our median went up by 831. So you can kind of see these increases, but it really just takes a few houses to kind of go up or down depending on what falls off from the roll. It's a rolling 30. So what falls off previously to what happens at the end of the month if something goes under contract. This days on market, not shocked at all that they're going down because we can see these signs right here in the pending. So already looking right here, we can tell the next 30 days, we're probably going to continue to see at least the trends for the average days on market to continue to go down. This is where if you are buying or selling, you really want to pay attention to. So close price to list price. So we have close price to list price, which is the current price. And then we have close price to original list price. Remember we talked about those 45% of houses that had price cuts? Well, these two percentages are going to be different if a house has had a price cut. So we look at both of them. So close price to list price, you have your average and you have your median. So right now we're looking at like 97.5%, 98%. So most houses are going from 2 to 2.5% under asking. And this is at their current list price. If we look at original list price, you're going to see that 97 and that 94.71. So we're talking anywhere from like 5.3 to 5.3% is kind of where you're seeing it as the net. When you are making an offer on a house, or if you are selling your house, if you get an offer and you're selling your house, please, 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 please have your agent pull stats like this. And the reason it's important to pull stats is going to help you with negotiations. So if you're living off in la land and thinking, oh my gosh, everything's selling so fast, get stats, get numbers. That's the best way, because then it makes you understand, okay, these offers are coming in. What is my chance of the next offer is going to be higher or lower? What is my negotiating room? So we like to negotiate with also facts and data. That's going to help you. Also, we're going to aware of like, if your price super low, maybe you're going to get a lot of offers, different things like that. So it's very, very strategic. Make sure you're looking at the data and find an agent that understands data. Just do that across the board. If you don't have one, hey, shoot me up. We'll talk. Okay, with that being said, we're kind of seeing these numbers, but I don't like to look at things in a vacuum. We also need to look at how they play out monthly, because this is just 30 days, active pending 30 days. So we're going to hop on and we're going to talk a little about what happened in March. We're going to talk about what is happening in April. Before I do that, feel free to hop over, share this out so that other people can join us. But we are going to hop into the monthly of what is happening. We are going to go into March. I have data all the way down for the past couple of months. I always started reporting the data for a while, but I've really started to actually keep it versus just post it, so that we can go back and historically track it a little bit more than me manually finding it every time. So with that being said, first off, I show this for February. This was February's numbers. These were abysmal. You can see that. But which is interesting is we underperformed year over year for February by 10.5%. We were undersold. If we look at the historical 20-year average, we undersold by like 27%, which is huge. The other interesting part is that our prices went up. So this is our average sale price and our median sales price. Here they are, and they went up. Now, if we go to, we're going to look at March. So March, I did not think, I called this way earlier, where we were not even going to be. The lowest that we've ever had in March was in 2023, 718. We didn't even hit that. So in the past 20 years, and this helps you understand Austin's market, in the past 20 years, this past March was our lowest number of recorded sales. So we're talking even in 2008, we're talking 2009, we're talking about in 2019 or 2020. So in 2020, this was like peak, middle of the lockdowns, COVID, all that, everything's happening. And granted, it was the end of the month, so April was probably a little bit worse, but we undersold by 8.37% for March. In 2025, if we do this is year over year. So this is last year's data. We're comparing this year versus last year, which is all this right here. And then this is month over month. So this is comparing March of 25 to February of 25. So that's how we're comparing the data in both ways. So first and foremost, we did see our price point, our median, and our average went up a little. 3 to 4% is kind of where they went up. So you can see our average is 818. Our median is at 617. Our days on market was higher, which I expected. This market was slower than year over year. But if we look at month over month, you can see this big drop. This was huge. Our March, if we compare it to February, we took off in March. And so this is why April has become a little bit more shocking, because we were going full force. We were like picking up steam in March. And then April, we just pulled the brakes. So the brakes kind of started falling off a little bit in April, and we'll get to that. You're also going to see, here's our close price to average list price. You're going to see where we were. So if you were a new listing, if you were a listing that hadn't changed your price, you're looking 2 to 3% under list price. If you're looking at where it was to the original list price, you're looking at 4 to 6% is kind of where you were. The biggest takeaway, which is kind of shocking too, is that we did see we saw an increase in year over year in our price. And we also see an increase right here month over month. So month over month, we still went up 1.7 to 2.2% for our medians and average. Year over year, it's up. So we're up like 1%. Now, let's hop into where we are for April. Everyone wants to know where we are in April. April's data is everything that closed out. Essentially, a lot of things that went under contract in March, we're going to see in April. So I'm going to predict this now. I think that May's data is where it's going to really be rough. We're seeing stuff in April, but I think May is really, we're going to see it, especially with the price reductions. We're going to see a lot more pain in May. So with agents pushing like, oh, the market's great. It's always a great time to buy. I always say, let's talk about the market specifically to you. It's a great time to buy depending on who you are, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. It's person dependent upon. Okay, so our average right now, or not average, to date, we've sold 325 houses. So we're over 50% of the way through. That being said, the last week, I would say we typically have reporting for about 7 days after. So even though it's a 30-day month, what we probably don't have until about 7th of May is when we're going to finally have all of our numbers. I expect this. So based on what I'm looking for, what is currently pending, which if we look over here, our pending right here at 1,000, I'm expecting our closed for Our close for May or for end of April is probably going to be in the mid 700s is kind of what I expect, maybe a little bit on the higher end. Put that in perspective, our lowest that we've ever sold over the past 20 years is 731 homes. So I'm expecting we're probably going to get really close to it. I think we'll beat that. I don't think it will be like March. I think we'll beat it just because of what is currently pending. Now, I think May is going to be a little shocker. That being said, our average price point, this is year over year, our average price point year over year is still up 4.3%. For our average, our median is up 3.59%. You can see right here is 875, 647. However, I expect these numbers, I expect the end of the month not to be this strong. And you're probably going like, why does Danielle already think that the end of the month isn't going to be as strong? And why do I think we're going to be closer to like a 2%-ish. And here's why. If we go back to what is currently pending, we can see our pending listings right here is at 826 and 639. And you can already see like our average sales right now for the past 30 days is 862 and 631. So you're going to see our median price point might slightly go up, but I don't think so because it also takes into account the percentage that you're taking off the original list price. We're not having a ton of houses go under contract for over asking. That's where that's going to fall down. So if we're looking at here at our monthly, and if we are looking to see kind of where we think this monthly is going to end up, I think this is going to end up, I think we'll still be higher because you can look right here, year over year, we were at 839. I think we'll still end up above 839, but I don't think we're going to have this big 4%. I think we're going to see a little bit of drop unless we get some cash buyers that come out these end of the years and we raise our pending numbers. You're going to see our days on market. This is the crazy thing. So from last year, our days on market, we dropped down substantially compared to where we are last year. This is also what's going to change with this is if we have good houses hit the market and buyers buying right away, that's going to continue trend. Now, this is the next part. This right here is going to say, what are people willing to pay? What are sellers willing to kind of negotiate? You're seeing that this is a little bit under. So you're seeing like 1% less than last year. So last year, this was at like a 99% close to list price. That's also because I don't think the market is as competitive. When the market is not as competitive, so basic economics, supply and demand, if the demand is not there, even though the supply is less, you might not get as many like over asking offers. I can tell you for a fact, I know houses that have gone under contract in 7 days and their initial offer is substantially under asking. So I had our own listing and we had multiple offers that come in, and it was interesting how many, even though they knew there were multiple offers, came in actually below asking. Luckily, we did have a good offer that we got under contract and within the first week, which is great for my sellers. But it's having that understanding of, hey, here's what's happening in the market. So if you're a seller, be aware of this. If you're a buyer, be aware of this. This is all going to go play into how it is now. Month over month, this is crazy. So year over year, you're seeing, hey, we're up. Month over month, we're significantly higher. So if we look back in March and we were at 818 and 617, which still had a year over year high. If we go back here and we're looking at month over month, we're at like 7% up, 4.9%. So, but this is also why I look at it in two ways. I look at it as year over year. And that's because each month is different depending on, like, you can't compare January and April. January, you don't have as many buyers, you don't have as many inventory. April, you have typically more buyers and not as much inventory, but right now our inventory is going up. So if you're actually, stop this. If you are thinking about listing your house in Austin, Texas, and you think you're going to wait until June and July and have multiple offers, please reach out to an agent. I don't care if it's me, I don't care if it's anyone else. Reach out to an agent now. I have a feeling based on this that we're going to see the buying season is going to be a little bit shorter this year. So I think it's imperative that you get your house on the market sooner than later based on the data that I am seeing. So with that being said, you're going to see right here, month over month is great that we're seeing, but that's also why I like to keep it in comparison to year over year and what is happening. And you can see historically, our historical average, what we typically sell over the past 20 years, from 05 all the way through last year. We were selling over 1,000 houses in April. We might hit 700. I'm talking, we're going to be at like 70% of what we historically sell, which will come back and will, hurt us in some case. Now, the question that I keep asking is people keep asking like, oh my gosh, are prices going to drop? Are they going to drop? Well, what is happening in Austin as well is that sellers have a couple things. Sellers have a lot of equity. Sellers, so maybe they don't sell it, maybe they rent it out, they cash out, they refi, they go buy another house without it, or they just go buy another house, because a lot of them, I'll get that percentage next time as far as how many people outright own their homes and the percentage of people that have at least 60% of equity. The other thing is a lot of our home owners, they either refied during that 2021 timeframe, or they bought during that time frame, so they have lower interest rates. So we're talking a lot of people have interest rates below 4%. What the paying people are people that bought in the end of 2022, 23, 24. They have those have the higher interest rates. So it's those sellers that really are going to feel a pain. The other thing it does go back to taxes. So speaking of which, if you have a house in Austin, please check about protesting your taxes. Understand, I've had a few people reach out to me already about their houses, and they just kind of want to get some data on what is around their house and how to help them out. Just so if they're going to protest themselves, or if you need a recommendation on some companies that you can use to help protest, I can give you some names to go from there. But with that, I'm Danielle Marie Fountain from the One Realty here in Austin, Texas. If there are no more questions, I am going to end this live stream. But feel free to reach out anytime. You can find me at theonerealty.com, or you can find me on X, _1_realty. So with that, have a great day.